If anybody thinks I was going to sit here with somebody who has studied and written direct response, understood the power of language and behavior for so long and not ask how to write the perfect Tinder bio, they're wrong. So in 60 seconds, what advice do you have for me to write a really great Tinder bio?
Well, first of all, targeting. And I'm Welsh in part, so I turn on Tinder in Swansea and turn it off in Corby. But that's it. Because which do you do? I've got to ask you that question. Okay, where are you more active on Tinder, in Swansea or in Corby?
It has to be in Wales, and it's because I don't like seeing people I know on Tinder, and I know more people in Corby.
So you don't want to bump. Interesting. So you've got the benefit, the cloak of anonymity. I have no experience of that because as someone who basically, got married before these things existed, I'm of that generation who feels like we caught the last helicopter out of Saigon, dating wise. We escaped this fairly nightmarish looking situation. It depends entirely, of course, on what you want. And that's the vital thing, because my suspicion is that the long-term relationship message will be very, very dramatically different from the short-term fling message. Because in a sense, what you're looking for, as someone said, the perfect job advertisement has a very low response rate. It has one response and that person is the perfect candidate. Okay. Now, there is that and there is playing the numbers, and I would guess that the approach you want differs according to what your intention is.
I mean, that's definitely food for thought. I'll feed back in a few months on how my trying to get one response goes, because I feel like I'm at the age where we need to be aiming for one and not 50.
Right. I've probably done a massive disservice to the population of Corby. I'm sure they're absolutely wonderful people. But no, it's an interesting one. I mean, there are undoubtedly both the photograph and the wording. It's an extraordinary case because essentially everything is being second guessed. It's done very largely through inference, and so the trick is to get the message across obliquely, not directly. What you're trying to say on a Tinder ad, I imagine, I've never been on the bloody thing, and my wife's next door, so even if I had, I wouldn't admit it. Okay. I've genuinely, I've never downloaded it, I've never seen it. What you have to do is you've got to say things which you can't say directly. And that's why it's an exercise in obliquity, because you can't say rich, highly attractive, very funny man, because everybody would say that, right? So what you've got to do is find a way of, or whatever it is you think is desirable in Swansea, I have no idea. So what you've got to do is find a way of conveying attractiveness, but in an oblique way. And that might involve, by the way, the opposite of a good idea. It might involve a chunk of self-deprecation. It might involve, inverse humour. One thing that probably makes sense is to test different approaches, and I'm intrigued to know whether people on Tinder actually kind of test regularly. Does Tinder allow A/B split tests?
It doesn't, but that doesn't stop me. That doesn't stop me.
Right, so you can only do that chronologically,
Yes.
because I think A/B testing on Tinder would be utterly fascinating. But do read books on it for what works, because it's weirdly surprising. I've got a dash now, but it's weirdly surprising. This has been an absolute joy.